Well, greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the RecPoker podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fredlund. This is episode 155, and this week we feature the Poker League of Nations, the largest group that is organized around supporting women in poker. We had an opportunity to interview three of the folks from Plan, Lena Evans, who is the founder, as well as Jacqueline Britton and Jeanette Mendez, who are founding ambassadors. And we had a fantastic discussion. Before we get to that, I want to thank Running Aces Racetrack and Casino, who is our ongoing official sponsor. Appreciate all that you guys are doing. And as part of that, I want to share with you some of the results from this past week. As always, we share the players of the week, the four people who earned the most points in the regular weekly tournaments. They get bonus lammers to be used for any tournament. Travis Hardesty, Andrew Feist. What's up, Andrew? Part of RecPoker Nation. Leland Bowe, and Darius Rogers. And I also want to talk a little bit about the big tournament they just had, a $500 buy-in tournament. The best players in the state, some folks from out of state that came into town for it. And we were super excited because it was just an absolutely stacked final table, including two of the folks that you hear on the podcast and a lot of our other content that we produce made the final table. Chris Jones and Taylor Moss. Chris Jones, well, let me go through the results here a little bit, kind of a who's who. In 10th place, Todd Melander, and Todd is actually the roommate of one of my really good friends, a former college roommate of one of my really good friends, Chris Jones, who you hear on here often, finished in 9th place for $1,925. Chris got really unlucky at the final table. A guy shoved from the small blind with his king three. Chris had pocket queens, king on the river, and that sort of crippled him. And then Chris lost with ace queen against fives to bust. But good result for Chris Jones. Fantastic guy. Jonathan Kim, a guy that we've actually interviewed on the show. One of the first episodes of the RecPoker podcast had John Kim. Corey Cove finished in 7th place. Folks in Minneapolis know that name. He's actually on the K-Fan morning show, and he's a fantastic poker player. Tyree Johnson, former dealer, fantastic player. Kevin Kelly, who played very solid on the final table, finished in 5th. Taylor Moss, one of our RecPoker Nation guys, an absolute beast, finished in 4th place. Played great, I thought. A couple of hands that didn't go his way that I want to talk to him about. But 4th place for $8,181. Way to go, Taylor. Ray Dickerson, another solid outing for him. And then probably the best two players at the final table, just some beasts. They did a partial chop, and then Ian Matakis finished in 2nd, and Jason Sell took home the trophy for $27,594, with Ian taking home $20,000 even. So fantastic event, the Big Turkey. Way to go, Running Aces. Great job. A couple of things that are coming up this week, this Wednesday night. We have a couple more opportunities for you to be part of the conversation. If you are a member of the RecPoker community, at 6:30 p.m., we're covering Chapter 5 of the Andrew Brokus book study. And we record all of these, and they're made available to the members. It's been a fantastic process, a fantastic study. So become a member out there. You can get a 1-month free subscription, get all of this content, and even be part of the conversation. Then at 8 o'clock, Taylor Moss, who I just mentioned, is going to be leading us in some hand history discussions. So these are Wednesday night, November 13th. Our NFL Survivor pool, we are down to 9 people this week. All 9 lost with the big NFL upsets that happened. And so actually what's going to happen is Jake Mason, who's leading this thing, is going to relaunch a new Survivor pool starting next week with the 9 people, and then they're going to play it down from there. So that's sort of fun. I mentioned a RecPoker membership. Go to rec.poker, find out everything about who we are, what we're doing out there. Stay plugged in. Get on the email list. That's probably the easiest way to stay connected. Otherwise, Twitter, Facebook, we put a lot of stuff out there as well. So with that, let's join the interview that we did with the Poker League of Nations founder, Lena Evans, as well as founding ambassadors, Jacqueline Britton and Jeanette Mendez. All right, everybody. Well, as promised, we are here with a few of the members of the Poker League of Nations. We have Lena Evans, we have Jacqueline Britton, and we'll be joined shortly by Jeanette Mendez, hopefully, if the technology holds. But first of all, thank you guys so much. I know we wanted to have you on when we were doing the Women in Poker series, but this is fantastic. We're excited that you were able to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, Steve. We're excited to share with the RecPoker community lots of information about Poker League of Nations, and we're just thrilled to be able to have that avenue to share that information.
Excellent.
Hashtag more women.
What was the hashtag there? More women?
More women.
Nice. I love it. Well, and we'll get into some of the details and all that sort of stuff, but I think let's just start with a high-level view of what is the Poker League of Nations. I know for a lot of us, we're recreational players. We're not hyper into the poker community and all of the things that are going on. And we see Poker League of Nations, and we might not necessarily immediately think, oh, that's a group for women supporting women playing poker. So why don't you give us, and by us, I mean, we've got John Somsky on the line, we've got Rob Washam on the line, other people listening in here. Why don't you give us kind of a high-level view of what Poker League of Nations is? And in the meantime, I'm going to have Jeanette join us as well, because I see that she just popped on.
Okay,
So
brilliant. Hi, John. Hi, Rob. And hi, RecPoker community. I'm Lena Evans, and I'm the founder of Poker League of Nations. And it's interesting that Steve said, if you see a lot about Poker League of Nations, which we hope you have, you may not know that it is a ladies' poker organization. So we're the world's largest women's poker organization. We didn't name the organization, the world's largest women's poker organization or Women's Poker League, because the main driving force for PLON, we call it, our initials PLON, is that we're looking to help women move up in stakes and enter open events. So we're not necessarily supporting women going into more women's events, which we do support women's events because it is an easy sort of soft entry for ladies into poker. But really our driving initiative and our main focus is to help ladies move up in stakes, go into open events, because we want to increase the prize pools, increase the player fields, and really just get women to play more poker in open events. That's, I think, in a nutshell, Poker League of Nations.
Yeah.
Jacqueline?
I mean, I think some of our initiatives that we've done to do that are, obviously we have leagues all around the country, all around the world, where women can join leagues and get points, and they pool their money to play in bigger events. We have sponsorships, so we also have our Pawn Power, where we pool money from all of our members, and then we put women into bigger events, or we might have a corporate sponsor for an event. We do training. We have training blogs. We have pros come on the site, and we can talk some about more of that stuff in detail. We allow women to post their staking packages so they can get staking. And one of the biggest things that we do in Poker League of Nations is give women recognition. So that makes them feel like, oh, I want to be recognized. I want to win. I want to be on one of those posts. I want to win a trophy. And it gives them more visibility. So as they see more and more women winning, they want to be one of those winning women. More women.
That's right. Our hashtag is more women. And thank you, Jacqueline. Of course, she always has all the information that I leave out, which is a lot. But that's really, she's given you really a nice list of the way we support women, because I think most people do know that women have traditionally been less than 5% of the field in any open poker tournament. So really, we're really pushing to help women come into open events, increase our numbers. And it's wonderful because this past weekend at Helix Poker, the field was 10% women, and 50% of those women made the final table.
Oh.
So we're really proud.
That's amazing. Yeah. But look at when I played the Win Poker Classic, for like the first 3 hours, I was the only woman in the field. And you played there the other day and you were the only woman.
That's right. I played actually a couple events there, and I was the only woman in the field. I was quite surprised. I was hoping to see at least one sister, but
it had gotten to the point where like there's one woman at every table in the mixed event, and now it seems like, depending on where you are, like why at the Win are you like the only only woman on the floor? It's crazy. Like, what is it about the Win that's intimidating?
Right. So but we have helped the Win push out about their recent ladies event, and we've partnered with a number of casinos, not just in Las Vegas, but throughout the country, and as Jacqueline mentioned, throughout the world, actually, to help bring more ladies. And so we're focused worldwide, not just in the USA, and we have ambassadors all over the world. And as Jacqueline also mentioned, we have league that are led all over the world for these women to win seats into bigger events. Typically speaking, we're focused on the World Series, bringing women into open events and the main events during the summer. But for instance, the London League, they are playing for a seat in the upcoming 888 live poker tour. So the opener event there, because it's a long way to get from London all the way to Las Vegas. So elected to focus on something that, a main event that's local.
Now you had mentioned when we were chatting before the interview, you said, obviously part of what you do is helping more people get into the game, but really that's not your focus. Your focus, you said, wasn't necessarily getting more people into the game as much as supporting the women who are already there to get them involved in bigger games and that sort of thing. So maybe talk a little bit about that differentiation. I mean, they seem to go hand in hand, but what does that mean for actually your strategy in terms of what you're getting involved with?
Well, as Jacqueline mentioned, we have multiple vehicles to help the women. So I will let Jacqueline speak about Plan Power Investment Group, but let me just talk about one of the points she made, and that is we have something called the Poker Nations Facebook Live Takeover, and we've had multiple top-level pros, including Antonia Sfandiari, Phil Hellmuth, we've had David Skolansky, John Chin. We've had sort of the top of pros come in and help sort of educate the ladies, give them free content, and give them new strategies and ways of thinking. So we're helping them from that perspective, from an educational perspective, first of all. And then through our leagues, not only, we're bringing the poker to the ladies. So we did an exhaustive study this past summer asking women, why are you not playing more poker? And the top two answers were bankroll and proximity to. Okay.
Yeah.
So, right. So I understand. Right. Poker. Let's talk about bankroll first. So we've addressed bankroll by multiple streams, and that is we've sponsored women in, we have staked women, and we have an investment group. So we have an investment group called Plan Power Investment Group. And Jacqueline was a really instrumental and, the main impetus in us creating this vehicle. And I'll let you tell the listeners about that, Jacqueline, and then we can talk about what we just did recently. That was super exciting through the Plan Power Group.
Yeah, first of all, hi, Jeanette. Glad you were able to join us.
How are you guys?
Hey.
Oh, sorry, it took a little bit there.
There's something, I don't know if you were able to hear the first part. Did you want to add anything to what we've just done, kind of high level, what is Plan, or anything you want to add before we go on to this specific question?
And actually, just about the study that we did do, the questionnaire that we set out last year that did have hundreds of respondents. And, we weren't expecting to get to that level of having hundreds of respondents who are actually recreational poker players. Again, it was that access to the knowledge of just being aware of where the tournaments were held, the bankroll management, needing information on how to really take your dollars and go from playing $20, $45, $100 tournaments and reinvest your winnings into higher level or higher stakes tournaments. And also there was a need for education, which I believe Lena touched base on some of the Facebook Live seminars that we've been very blessed to actually have a lot of volunteers come on and really help educate I believe there's 5,700 members of Plan now, really educate our women of Plan on many areas such as, controlling your emotions in poker, or making calculated decisions, to bankroll management, to how to potentially, I guess, choose the type of tournament level, the type of tournaments that you're playing based on your skill level. So it's really great. I mean, so far it's so good. We've been doing a great job, and I think we were headed to Jacqueline speaking about the Plan Investment Group, which I also believe is another wonderful opportunity for the ladies out there.
Thank you. So yeah, like we had discovered in the survey, was that the actual money to buy into a bigger event is a stumbling block for more women playing in those bigger events. So I had been involved in another investment group where we put people into the main event, and we wanted to expand that into Pawn, and so we developed Pawn Power, where not only we take the main event of the World Series of Poker, but throughout the season, circuit main events or high buy-in main events, and we get the Pawn community to invest shares, so $50 shares for some of the events or $100 shares. So if it's $1,000 event, we get $20, $50 shares, and then we buy that person into the event because some people don't have $1,000. Maybe they've been running good at their daily tournaments in their hometown, but they don't have $1,000 to play the big event coming up at somewhere else. So we pool our money, we put that player in. The player gets to retain 40% of their winnings, and 60% of their winnings goes back to the investment group. Now, some people might think that's high, but the reason that's high is because the investors are putting up all the risk, and they're doing event after event after event, and not every event is going to cash. So you have to have a major cash in order for the investors to get even on their money. So the percentage back to the investors is a little bit higher, but at the same time, that woman is getting the experience to play that event. She's getting bankrolled into that event. It's costing her nothing. She does have to buy at least one share, so her buy-in has to be at least $50 or $100, depending on how much the share is, because we want that player to have a stake in it as well. So we've done a few events. We did I think the Win 1600. We did the Poker Masters, which Lena can talk about a little bit more in a second here. We've had some initiatives for some events where we haven't been able to raise all the money, but we're trying to do, like one major event every month. And we have, I think, now a steady group of investors that puts in their $50 and $100 so that we can pool our money. It's different than traditional staking where you have a backer and they back the money and all of that. It's the community pooling their money to support women so that they can play bigger buy-ins.
That's really cool. So when we talk about Pawn, obviously you've got the Facebook group that is open to the public, right? Anybody can join the Facebook group. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. I mean, essentially, it's meant as a women's poker organization.
Right. Yes.
It's meant as women's, but we certainly have we have gentlemen as members, but they're probably like in the 5% range because those gentlemen are in the media. They're TD, so tournament directors. They're casino owners. They're professionals in the poker industry, so they have a reason to be in there.
Right. But so the Facebook group is available to any woman can join the Facebook group for sure, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's open to any women. And then is there like another layer or a membership thing, or I'm sure there's women out there that I know, some of these women that are listening to this right now that are probably saying, "Wow, I would love to play bigger tournaments, but I don't know if I would be the right candidate." Or even some of the other stuff that you're talking about, is there another level of membership, or how do people?
Yeah, Pawn Power is a second private group. So even though the main Pawn membership page is open to women, they do have to apply. It's a closed group. It's not a public group. We have a public page. We have the closed Pawn group. And you have to first be a member of the Pawn membership group. And then you can request to be a member of the Pawn Power group, which is a separate private group. But you have to be willing to make an initial investment of $50 to $100. So we don't just want a bunch of people in there looky-loos. We want people who want to invest in other women poker players. So there's no qualifications other than you want to.
Right. So Steve, to answer specifically, so the Pawn main group, there's no charge. It's free to join. It's always been free. All of our content's been free, and we haven't charged anything for the ladies to gain all of this knowledge, have access and opportunities to the staking and the investments. And there is an email. There is a sort of a formal membership, of a link that you can join in order to be a formal member. And those that are actual formal members who have signed up for their email, basically, they have access to other opportunities that just being in the Facebook group doesn't necessarily provide. And as Jacqueline mentioned, the next level would be the Pawn Power Investment Group, which is for people who really want to support on the next level. And the only requirement is that you're interested in paying it forward and supporting more women into open events. And as Jacqueline also mentioned, the only requirement that really for you to apply to be a sponsored member is buying one share, and that share is $50. So using an amazing example, we just sponsored 14 women to play in a very special satellite at the area poker room. And we partnered with Poker Go, Poker Central, and Poker Masters, along with the ARIA, what we did was we created a special event where the ladies could come, have a private tour of the Poker Go studios, which most people have not seen, except for on Poker Go,
Super cool. Super cool.
Yes, and they hosted a lunch for us, and then they hosted this very special satellite. And the satellite was $550 per woman, and you could buy directly in and own 100% of yourself. But what we did is we offered the opportunity in the Plan Power Investment Group. For $50, you could buy as little as one share. And then if you were interested in becoming a sponsored player, you had to send in an application email sort of explaining why you think you should be selected, why you'd like to play, and just giving us a little bit of background about your poker experience. And we chose 14 women and put them into this satellite and gave them an opportunity at a $10,000 high roller Poker Masters seat. So it was fantastic. So for $50, the winner of this satellite was Carolyn Grad from Canada. She got to play with all of the, these top level pros and the high stakes players in the Poker Master 10K event, their opening event. So it was wonderful. We had in excess of 10,000. So the second place received 2,000. And what was even more wonderful is that we had an amazing support from the high stakes poker community. We had one investor who is a high stakes player, very well known, who invested $5,000 to put in 9 ladies. And then we had Lauren Roberts, who is also another very well-known high-stakes player. She sponsored 2 ladies into the event, so she donated or invested $1,100. And what's beyond even more exciting than that is that they donated back all of their winnings back into the investment group. So, and we're also happy to announce that I think almost everybody donated back their winnings into the investment group. So I think
wow, very cool.
So then we're paying it forward and putting the money back in the fund so we can put more ladies into the next open event.
Oh, that's very cool. Jacqueline and Jeanette, just, I muted you. There were getting a little background noise, so feel free to unmute yourself to talk. Sorry about that. I just wanted to get a little bit of the background noise out of there. That is fantastic. That is super interesting, right? I think a lot of people, even if they've heard of Plan, maybe haven't heard of this side of it. The one side where it's actually an opportunity to financially invest in the future of women in poker and give people the opportunity, and the other side of it to potentially be one of those people that's invested in to be able to play those bigger events. And that's a fantastic model. I love that. And
by the way, most of those, if not all of those women, were rec players. Some of them didn't even have any Hendon mob. I mean, so we're all about helping the rec players.
Now, and that's obviously who our audience is, and I think there's people out there that are going, "Wow, this is actually pretty interesting. I had no idea about this," and I'm sure you're going to be getting some inquiries coming up. Jeanette, did you have something you wanted to add there?
I'm actually pretty sad I was not available to participate in this.
You look pretty sad.
We missed you. Yeah, the girl who came in second place on that Poker Master satellite, I think she had no Hendon mob because she'd only ever played in bar leagues and home leagues. She'd never even played in a major tournament, but she wrote a beautiful letter asking to be sponsored. She bought a couple of shares. She played crazy, maybe crazy good because she came in second place. But, it was an opportunity that she could have never had on her own.
Yeah, that is super cool. I have more questions. I just want to make sure I pause for a second for John and Rob if they have anything that they wanted to jump in here with.
Hi, John and Rob.
Hey, John.
No, I think it sounds like an excellent thing. It's kind of, as Steve said, very similar to what RecPoker is trying to do, promote poker. You're doing it in a little bit more of a focused niche, but I love the approach that you're taking.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, we've got a couple camps, of women that are part of RecPoker Nation. As far as the people that I know, there's some that are, really into poker and they're playing the bigger events and all that sort of thing, and that's fantastic. And then you have some of these women who are just starting to learn the game. And then you have this other camp, which I think is our biggest audience. I'd love to have you maybe talk to them a little bit. And these are the women they've been playing for a while. They've always enjoyed poker. It's always been super fun. They play the casinos, maybe the $30 to $75 tournaments quite a bit, but they've never really taken it seriously. Like, they've just enjoyed going, and it's kind of fun. But now they're at a place where they're saying, I actually want to learn the game at a little deeper level. I want to be more competitive. I would like to go play a $500 or an $1,100 event and feel like I'm not, completely overmatched. So I'd be curious, like, is there how would Plon kind of fit into that sort of person looking for that sort of support?
If I may, I think it's really a conglomerate of everything we do, because I think the recognition that we're giving the ladies, whether they're playing a home game or whether they're playing Kristen playing the 25K Poker Masters, the amount of recognition that we give to those women throughout the poker community gives more women confidence. So it gives that player like, oh, that girl only used to play dailies, and now she played a 500, and now she won, and this girl final tabled 3 times, and she normally only played dailies, and that kind of thing. I think that the conglomerate of what we do empowers those women to do more, plus the training, plus the sponsoring. It's like, we've sort of taken it from every angle that we could think of. So there's not really one thing that we're doing to that community, but I think that is our main community. We don't do a lot for the brand new person. We're going to teach you how to play poker. And, and our big name pros who are already super successful, they support us and that they follow along, but they don't maybe partake of the content as much. So that core group of people who have played mid-stakes and want to elevate, that's really who we target, but with all of our programming.
I think that's very accurate.
Jeanette, did you have anything to add to that? Go ahead.
And I do. A lot of it is also just being patient with yourself. I think it took me maybe 1.5 to 2 years to go up into the stakes of $400 to $1,100 tournaments, but it was at the point where I was playing the $75 tournaments at the nightly casino, or I was playing with friends. And a lot of the times I think that, jumping into some of these tournaments that are, again, the $1,100 tournament, because you've won 1 or 2 smaller ones, it might not be the wisest choice for everybody. So it's just kind of being a little more aware of how you play as a person. So if you're playing at a local casino and you've won 7 out of 7 tournaments you've played at the $100 level, you're probably ready to move up the stakes and do it with just caution of, again, it's that bankroll management and maybe reaching out to a more senior player who started at the stakes that you started as a player, and figuring out what they did to help reach those higher stakes without breaking the bankroll too much.
I love that. That's well said. I want to take a second and kind of address each of you a little bit, because Eileen, I know you a little bit because I know some of your poker results, and you're kind of a beast in some of those ways and had some really good results. Jacqueline, Jeanette, I wasn't familiar with you before the show, but I want to hear a little bit about your story. I know you're both ambassadors for Plon, but I believe that that's not your full-time gig or anything, right? You're doing this on the side, right? So I kind of want to hear just, well, who the heck are you? Like, who are these people that are involved in Plon, and what do you do in your daily lives, and what kind of tournaments or cash do you play right now? So maybe Jacqueline, do you want to go first, and then Jeanette?
Sure. I am the group fashionista.
Oh, now, but you didn't wear red, so we're all.
I know, but I got my reminder after I had already left. I did make their T-shirts though that they're wearing.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Yeah, I work in the fashion business. I actually have a day job as a buyer. In the fashion business, I buy for stores and casinos and airports. And I help, talk to Lena from the very beginning of Plon, and I don't have a lot of time to give her, but I give her whatever time I have in the morning and 11 at night. And, we make a great team, the 3 of us. So I give as much as I can. I definitely support all the investments, and all of us have put a lot of our own money. This is not a money-making organization. We've all pulled out of our pocket money for stuff. But as far as my poker, I've been a mid to low stakes poker player for a few years. I don't have as much time to play as I would like. I've had bouts of having a coach, where the years I've had a coach, I've had better results. I've had a year with no coach where I had my best results. My biggest accomplishment was in the monster stack at the WSOP. out of 6,700 players, I came in 88.
Nice.
For 10K cash, second to last woman standing. So that was probably my biggest accomplishment. Jeanette and Lena have way, way, way more. So, they're the beauty. I'm the brains. They're the money makers. I'm the fashionista. I don't know.
Well, you're the beauty of the brains. You're all the beauty and the brains. And I mean, I know I looked a little bit at each of you. And Jeanette, I think there's some brains there as well, based on what I saw.
Yeah.
And you actually have a connection, I think, Jeanette, to Minnesota, right, with Mayo.
How did you know that? Oh.
I looked at your profile. I'm doing my research. I'm like, who are these people? I need to know who these people are just a little bit. And I happened to see that you worked at Mayo. So I guess I don't know if you were in Minnesota or if you did some research. But we're based out of Minnesota, and I saw the name. Mayo, which of course says Minnesota.
Yeah.
I wasn't stalking you. Don't worry.
Go for it.
Jacqueline, did you want to continue or?
No, I'm good. That's all I got.
I guess my piece of it is who am I as a person? I was at Mayo Clinic for many, many years. I actually did cancer research there. That's why you hear me speak about numbers and about stats and about, progression, because I did a lot of progression analysis over the course of time. My involvement with Plon early on was just one of the founding ambassadors, just being there, spreading the word. And I think earlier last year I did become a little more involved in helping develop the survey that we sent out to women. This year, I've given as much time as I can to Lena and the organization and helping kind of really identify who we are as an organization, because the growth was just substantial over the first year that we really had to define, who is it that the niche is for this group versus what we were doing initially, which was just educating and awareness for women overall. From a person perspective, I have a graduate degree in medical research and healthcare, and what I do for a profession is more so advocacy for underserved communities via quality type research. What did Jacqueline say? There was something Jacqueline said. My biggest accomplishment, that's what it was Heads Up Chop at the Venetian, 500 players approximately. It was a $600 buy-in, chopped heads up for $34,000.
Nice.
Which was incredible.
But you're also top 100 women, right? Top 100
yes,
women.
Okay, I didn't want to say it, but yes.
Go
ahead. Brag a little bit, that's okay.
GPI and Player of the Year for this year, I believe I'm under number 45 on both. My goal is to reach the top 20, and I've been doing that by sticking to mid-level, mid-stakes tournaments, so anything between the 1,100 to the 1,700 buy-in range, because I have found I do really well in those. And although I can satellite into the higher stake ones, I still cannot cash in those for the life of me. So I'm not even delving into those, that road at this point. But yeah, actually, I just hit my 6-digit revenue mark on Hendon Mob. So that
nice.
Was incredible this year. I was like, yeah, I made it past the 100K mark. So it's cool.
Next up is 7 digits.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just one. All I got to do is win the World Series main. In fact, if one of you ladies could please final table and win that thing, that would be fantastic.
That would be awesome. History making.
It would.
I think Lena might do it next year.
Yeah.
We would love to. Actually, one of our ambassadors is the only woman to have made a final table in the main event. That's Barbara Enright.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, she's the last one to do it, right?
She's the only one to have done it.
Yeah, there's a few years ago where the gals went 12 and 11. I was just sick. Yeah.
I think she went out in 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's your turn, I think. It seems like we're due.
Lena has 2 circuit rings, and she's going for the 3rd one.
I know. Let's talk about that. You got 2 WSOP circuit rings. You're a runner-up in the WPT deep stacks for like 53,000 a couple years ago. Talk a little bit about, your founding of Plon and kind of what you're doing now. Is this your full-time gig? You're doing other things? How much poker are you playing? Give us a little bit of a view of who Lena Evans is.
Is it my full-time gig? It probably is my full-time
Yes,
gig.
and in addition to all your other full-time things, right?
Exactly. It's one of my 5 full-time
Right,
gigs
right.
where I'm not making any revenue from, but it's my
I can relate.
No, I do. I have. I was the first woman to win 2 WSOP circuit rings in one season. I won them both exactly 3 months apart, which was amazing. And I just happen to be passionate about poker, and I tend to follow my passions. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, so when I'm passionate about something, I tend to turn it into a revenue stream. So I started Helix Poker, which is a poker tour, and we travel and it's really exciting because I get to meet the players and sometimes I get to play with them. And as the CEO of a poker company, I really wanted to have some street cred because I'm a cash player historically, traditionally. That's how I started. But I know that nobody knows what we do when we play cash in these private rooms behind closed doors. So I thought if I'm going to be a poker CEO, I need some street cred. And that means tournaments. So I started playing more tournaments just a couple of years ago. And pretty immediately, I started getting some good results, including those 2 rings, and as you mentioned, the WPT runner-up and a couple of other titles. But so then I sort of sealed, okay, I can actually play, and now I can focus on doing other things. But yeah, so I had the tour, and then it just became, Plan started as a small group to share information about tournaments and travel with really just my friends. But then about a year and a half ago, we opened it up to basically women, mainly women. So women could get more ideas about where to play. And if you travel to anywhere in the world, say you want to go to Sweden and play, we have an ambassador in Sweden and she can connect with you and she can be your local contact and help you. So really we've built a community worldwide so that women feel supported. As I say, they can go to any country, pretty much any city, and have a friend there. And as a part of our sort of community and all of these staking and investment, we're sweating with them. We're supporting them from behind the scenes. We're cyber railing them.
Right.
We have a woman who's going deep in event. We make sure we're cyber railing, sending them the good vibes. But really for me, it was, Plan is a way to connect with our ladies. And poker is a really interesting subculture. So it's unlike anything I've ever experienced because my background has been more in charity and political fundraising, and those 2 subsets are extremely different than poker. And I really love the poker community because people are very accessible, very real, and I just feel a really good connection, and that's why I focus so much on it. And as you say, is it my full-time job? No, it's not my full-time job, but I think it becomes a full-time passion. And so at one point we were working almost 24/7 as it was growing so rapidly. I mean, we became the largest within months of opening it up to ladies. We became the world's largest. And as Jacqueline mentioned, we're 5,700 plus members now. And as we mentioned, I would say 97% of those are women. So you can imagine, and there's still thousands more that aren't in the group yet. So we're very active.
We need to have a membership drive so we can get to 6,000. 300 people, not even everybody.
Question.
If everybody adds 1 person, that would be 5,000 people. We got to make a membership drive.
Well,
Okay,
right here. Let's RecPoker Nation. All right. There's a few
Yeah.
thousand, there's a few thousand of you people listening to this right now. All
Yeah.
right. If you are a woman, go to Facebook group, the Plan group, Poker League of Nations, become a member. You know women who are poker players. Have them go there. Have them participate. Have them engage. Have them reap the benefits of community. I mean, this is what RecPoker Nation is all about. And here's another way to do that. So let's get them over that 6,000 mark. Let's go. A week from now,
Yeah, let's do it.
6,000. Come on, RecPoker Nation, step up here.
I would love that. I mean, because as I said, we're an all volunteer organization. None of us are paid except with hugs and kisses.
Gratitude, paid in gratitude.
Right, and lots hugs and kisses, and lots of just a personal satisfaction in the fact that we're helping ladies. So we're volunteers. We want you to be involved. It's free to join. Everything we do in there is free content from top pros, and we're here to support in many, many ways. So we really want more women to have the opportunity to have access. And so just push the button and
Yeah.
go to the membership.
Is there also, so there's the Facebook group, is there also like a newsletter people sign up for, a website they should go to? Like what is it, or is the best way just kind of through the Facebook group?
Well, we do have a fairly active website, and that's pokerleagueofnations.com. So pretty much all of the information you can learn about us is on pokerleagueofnations.com. And from there, you can navigate into our Facebook group. But that's a really good place to start. But we have a public Facebook page, but that's not very dynamic because that's a place marker. Really, all of our business happens in the group, and that's where the ladies can share their successes, and we can acknowledge them and cyber rail them, support them. So it's really, the group is really the place where we do conduct all of our business, but we have a pretty dynamic website and visit it.
Yeah, but just to differentiate on the group, so when your RecPoker Nation goes to look for it, they look under groups and then look for members only Poker League of Nations, because that otherwise people were getting confused whether it's the page or the group. So we made the group say members only Poker League of Nations, and the page just says Poker League of Nations. But the more dynamic content is in the group, so they have to search under groups.
Okay,
so they
good
will
point.
have to. They will get a notice that says that their approval to join the group is pending. We do actually just kind of vet every member that does try to join to make sure that it's someone who's actually safe to join. I mean, we have a lot of women in the group,
Yep.
so I want to make sure that our members are safe. So if anybody does want to join who is listening in, to just have them enter RecPoker as how they heard about Poker League of Nations, and we will gladly approve them.
Yes,
Sounds
and as
cool,
we
yeah.
mentioned earlier, we do welcome gentlemen who are in the poker industry. So if you're a professional in the poker industry, the gentlemen are welcome to join, but for the most part, it is a women's organization. But
Okay.
we love the poker room managers and the TDs and the casino owners who support us. So certainly they're in the group as well, because we want them to see how.
And the media people, yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll put the links out there. We'll make sure that when we'll put that the link to the group whenever we publish this and make people aware of it. That sounds fantastic. We're almost out of time, but I have a couple more questions. I'm just dying to ask you guys, so we'll have to have pretty short answers. But the two questions I have, and you can all chime in here a little bit. We can be a couple minutes over, but one thing is just in closing, I guess what's that one thing that we haven't said or that you'd like to say to the women that are listening or saying, well, maybe this is something I could get involved with. I don't know. They're kind of on the fence about if they should get involved. So I'd love to hear that. And then also, and this is probably a loaded question that's unfair to ask for a quick answer for, but we struggle with gender diversity on the podcast and getting guests in, and we're trying to be intentional about it. But I think there's a lot of good-hearted men out here that are saying, what can we do to help support women in poker? We maybe don't have the platform to be able to do things like the podcasting or whatever, but what can just good-hearted men do to help either bring more women into the game or support the women that are already in the game? So those are my two questions that we have about 3 minutes to have three of you answer. So sorry, but there you go. Whoever wants to chime in, go ahead.
I would say follow the golden rule at the table. Respect everybody who is around you, especially women. Know that they are the disparity, and just having a woman at the table is really challenging to come by. That's just from a behavioral perspective, but from a financial perspective, if there is an inclination to help bring more women to play, I would consider also potentially sending some funds to the Pawn Investment Group, knowing that if you send a woman to play who does happen to win or cash at an event, that your good deed is going to return to you from a financial perspective as well.
Love it.
Exactly. She said, that's what I was going to say.
Ditto.
The great minds think alike.
Yes, we do absolutely invite gentlemen to be supporters and investors in the Plan Power Investment Group. A couple of our largest investors were gentlemen, and we really appreciate that, because it makes us feel good that the gentlemen are supportive as well, because we're such a small percentage of the field and we're trying to grow that field. And I think that people really appreciate that. And our casino partners, they're, for the most part, they're gentlemen, and they have been really supportive, bringing us in, making us feel safe and secure, and just supporting more women in poker.
Awesome. Well,
Sorry.
go ahead, Jeanette. Go ahead.
It's really incredible that this summer and just at many events when we're there, we're patching people up. It's the men who are so curious about this group. In so much that we actually had gentlemen at the World Series of Poker while they were on feature TV wearing the patches, really supporting women out there. So this stigma about men not wanting women at the table, I think it's maybe 30 years behind. And I mean, I am the devil's advocate here, but I think, men genuinely are more supportive of women at the table than women actually believe they are before they actually actively play in open fields.
I do believe that. I think her statement is very accurate that I've always felt welcome. I've never felt unwelcome at a poker table. So we thank the gentleman for, as Jeanette said, the golden rule. We treat everybody the way we want to be treated. So when we're treated with respect, we're thankful because we are, as she said, the disparity, and I've always felt welcome. So gentlemen, just continue welcoming us, invest in more women to play, and see you on the felt.
Well, that seems like a good way to end. I hate to cut it off because I know we could talk for a lot longer. But Lena, Jacqueline, Jeanette, thank you guys so much for coming on here. John, Rob, I know I took all the time, but thanks for jumping on here too. And we'll chat with you guys later. But thank you again for all you're doing. And women, get out there. Let's get them over 6,000. I want to look a week from today and see how many members you guys have. Let's see if we can push that number over 6,000 by next week.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rec Poker community, and bye, John and Rob. Thanks, Jeanette and Jacqueline, for their amazing support as well.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, once again, thanks to the Poker League of Nations, PLON, as well as John Somsky and Rob Washington for being part of the panel. Appreciate you guys. Just a reminder, this Wednesday, our book study, Andrew Brokas's Playing Optimal Poker, Chapter 5 at 6:30 p.m. Join the discussion. And at 8 o'clock p.m. Central, another hand history with Taylor Moss, who just finished 4th in the Big Turkey at Running Aces for about $8,000. So that should be fantastic. Go to rec.poker for all the information. Join the mailing list. Get on Twitter, Facebook, all that jazz. Check out what we're doing. And once again, thank you to Running Aces Racetrack and Casino for your continued support as our official sponsor. Take care, y'all.